So Braxton, as far as the principle number 9, buying assets and avoiding liabilities, can you explain to me from your perspective, what is the difference between an asset and a liability?
An asset makes you money, a liability takes it from you, very simply.
So let's just say that I don't really fully grasp this. I know within my family, there's people that disagree with me on this subject as well. And there are usually people that have a ton of debt.
Yep.
So, but anyway, we'll just throw out that example, that anecdotal example. So here we go. Asset versus a liability. Let's go a car. Is a car an asset or a liability, and why?
A car for the average person is a liability. Unless you're in the car business and you're making money, you're buying cars low and selling them for more, fixing them up, selling them for more. But car for most people, it's a liability because it decreases in value, and most people owe more than what the market value of the car is, and it's a liability.
But when you work with people who are looking to buy a house, you've been in real estate for years, usually you work with people who are trying to buy a commercial property. They will put down their car as an asset.
Yeah.
And then you'll have to almost point out to them, like, hey, your car actually is not going to work well for you on the balance sheet. Why do most people think a car is an asset?
Well, I mean, the only way a car would be an asset for them, technically on like a balance sheet, they're looking at it as, well, I own it free and clear, and the car's worth $20,000. If I sold it today, I could sell it for $20,000. And technically that could be considered an asset, but really it's not making them money. It's a car for most people, they owe money on it, and so they're going to sell it for $20,000, but they're going to have to pay the people that really own the loan for $22,000. So it's a liability.
And what about the house? I mean, a lot of people say people have said the house is the best investment you can ever make. A house it's really where you want to put your money. A house is, you want to get a 30-year mortgage on that beast, and that's the best investment you can make. Is that an asset or a liability?
Well, under that scenario, it's a liability because you're going to pay for that house at least twice with a 30-year mortgage, and that value of that house is not going to go up that much. I mean, a house, a property, real estate should increase in value, but for the most part, people they move every 3 or 4 or 5 years, and so if you've never done this, go into Excel or some other program like it, look up amortization schedule. And type in the value of the house that you're buying and the interest rate and the term of your mortgage, and you'll find out very quickly that you're going to spend most of your money in the first 3 or 4 or 5 years on interest, and so it's definitely not a liability. It's definitely not an asset.
I want to throw this out real quick because just an example: if somebody were to buy a house right now, and they bought a house for $300,000, you're saying that they would pay for the house times 2?
Yeah, at least.
So times 2, and this is crazy. I did mortgage consulting just years ago, and I was working with a company, and we found, like what you said, the average person in America lives in a house 3 years at the maximum. That's like the average max. The average maximum is 3. Now you talk about people who are like old school, like like the baby boomers. They tend to live in a house like 10 years, but the first, like you're saying, of a 30-year mortgage, even a 15-year mortgage, those first 3, 4, 5 years are almost all interest.
That's right.
So when you buy a house, and then also you have what, closing costs?
Closing costs and commissions. You might think if you bought a house for, say, $280,000, and now you're selling it for $300,000, and you're thinking, I'm going to make money, but really you got to think about the closing costs and the commissions that you're going to pay whenever you sell that house. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to come out having to pay money at closing, even if what you bought it for is less than what you're selling it for.
Okay, so we're going into the lightning round here. I'm going to throw out a whole bunch of ones for you.
Yeah.
In your mind, is formal education an asset or a liability?
Well, in my mind, it's a liability. I mean, most people leave formal education and go, I owe $100,000 plus, and so is that value really worth it? Now
let's say that you're like an architect or a doctor or an attorney or something where you had to have a degree to make that increased income. Like, so, like if I was running around town going, I'm a doctor, I know some things about some stuff, you want me to operate? It probably wouldn't be a good deal, right? But then if I'm like, I have an accreditation, I could maybe...
Yeah, that's an asset for you.
So it's an asset, well, you can say it's an asset if it's like maybe a actual profession.
It's a trade profession.
A trade profession, okay. So if it's a trade profession, then that's going to be an asset. But if it's a liability, would be like if it's a general degree, like communications or
I mean, if you have a psychology degree but you don't have a master's and you don't have a PhD in that, then that's going to be a liability for you because you owe money on something that you're not using.